Here we are again, another week, another edition of Batting Cleanup. What's up? I'm Melissa Orange. He's Evan Kamiko. We've kicked Courtney Mims out. We're not inviting her back. Her Gators lost. It was great. It was great. She shows up at the ballpark and just, I'm glad that the people who heckled her and made me happy.
So she was wearing black last week.
And I get
she
that.
Was dressed for
I've done the
Florida's
same
funeral.
thing. I've done the same thing. When Arkansas played Florida State in the College World Series in 19, I wore all black too.
Mm-hmm.
So
which is fair, but the difference is, I guess you were there covering it. She was there as a fan.
Yeah. So what happened was my boss at the time was like, I know you're here, but I'm going to give you the day off because you're not going to be any good for me. Just go enjoy the game. So I technically was there with a fan. I drank a beer before the game, so totally not working.
Okay. Well, but still, Florida State being there and you being there for work, I'm glad you got that day off. That must have been a really fun day.
It was a lot of fun. But enough about Courtney and the Gators. Let's talk about Arkansas's 2 games.
People are going to be mad that we said that.
I know, but I don't care. Not worried about them. Let's talk about Missouri State, because Arkansas takes down Missouri State. We're going to talk about how well they've done in the non-conference and just these midweek series in general. But I really want to talk about those games against the Bears, specifically Wednesday's game. And you've got a guy in Peyton Stovall who had a 5-hit game, which was big for Arkansas. I'd still love to see Kendall Digs get stuff going, but it's good to see that consistency from Peyton. And here's a fun fact for you. So Courtney texts that there is a Dodgers. So she's like, I'm standing right beside a Dodger scout. And I go, oh, who is he there for? Hagen? And he's like, they're like, yeah, right. Like, Hagen's not going to be on the board by the time the Dodgers draft, right? He's like, but they're here to see Stovall. And I'm like, oh, yeah, let's go. And then he has a 5-hit game, which I thought was pretty cool.
If Peyton Stovall gets drafted by the Dodgers and if he eventually makes it to the big leagues, I think you have to buy a jersey.
Yes, I will.
Like, you can't not.
I will.
I know, and Courtney also said the scout was there. I got to give my Philly guy some love to see Spraglot as well.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
I think it was Stovall who made waves yesterday. And again, look, it's Missouri State. We've seen weaker pitching typically in those midweek games, but still, you want to see your better hitters, take advantage of that. Stovall did. Spraglot had a hit yesterday. Ben McLaughlin with 2 walks.
Yeah.
And to your point earlier, the big issue right now in this lineup, and it sucks to say because you love the guy and you love what he stands for, is Kendall Digs. And Mike and I are sitting there yesterday watching the game in the office, and Diggs is up one time with the bases loaded and 2 outs, the other time with runners on second and third and 2 outs. And the time, or 1 out, the second time he got the sac fly, scored the run, but the first time you just see him struggling at the plate, taking a lot of these inside pitches. It's very similar to what some of the major league teams I see with Christopher Morel on the Cubs, and they're going to pitch him in, and Kendall's taking that pitch every time. They go away. He takes it on the outside corner. Quickly, he's down 0-2, and now he needs to battle. They're going to throw him a slider, and typically with a lefty, if it's a righty slider, it's going to break in on him, and it does. And he can't hit the inside pitch right now, and it's really a shame because they need Kendall to get going if this Arkansas lineup wants to be what it can be come postseason play.
I'm curious what you do, right? Because you could easily say, get him out of the lineup. That's the easy thing to say. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I don't think you do that, especially this time of the year with the stretch that you have. You need Kendall Diggs' confidence to come back, and putting him on the bench is not the way to do that. So just keep him in the lineup. And you keep giving him chances. He is going to break through, but all of this, get Kendall Diggs out of the lineup, is absolutely not the right answer for me.
No, there's no way. And if people online and whoever's online saying pull Kendall Diggs from the lineup, you do not know baseball very well. Obviously, look, he had a stretch beginning of the season, up until, 2 weeks into conference play where he was hitting 320 and I think he had 19 RBIs and was really the motor of this team before Peyton Stovall came back and was fully healthy, and Vahiva Aloy, just continues to rake against pitching. And Kendall Diggs had that long stretch in the beginning of the season where he was the guy, and I think he can get there, and you don't pull him out of the lineup. That's basically saying, oh, Corey Seager's not hitting well. Well, let's just send him to AAA. Like,
exactly.
No, who does that? Like,
nobody.
Like, no. And I'm not comparing Kendall Diggs to Corey Seager.
It's funny you were going to say that, because I was about to be like, you don't put Mookie Betts on the bench, and I'm not trying to compare him to Mookie Betts either, but you just don't put guys like that on the bench. You just got to let him get his groove back.
And I like that Dave held him out on Tuesday's midweek game. I think that's okay. And especially in those midweek games, look, give the guy a mental break. It's a hard baseball game. I saw, and I'll use the Cubs again as an example. Seiya Suzuki last year wasn't hitting well in August. David Ross put him on the bench just for a couple games, just as a mental reset. And I think that's okay. and Seiya came back and was arguably the best Cub hitter, maybe the best Cub over that last stretch of the season, better than Cody Bellinger. And I think that's okay that DVH put him on the bench, give him some time to mentally reset. Baseball's a hard freaking game. Like, we talk about it week in and week out. Like, this is hard. You know, I talk with friends and debate with friends all the time. You know, hitting a 93-mile-an-hour fastball is probably the hardest thing to do in sports in general.
Yeah, it is. It's why batting, hitting contact a third of the time is successful. And you look at this game, and I think that with Kendall, we still don't really know where his health is at with that shoulder. I mean, again, he could play the outfield possibly a lot better than he's trying to swing if his shoulder's still bothering him a little bit. So we don't really know where he kind of stands. So cut Kendall Digs some slack, I think.
And especially with the follow through, I think you know, shoulder mobility is such a big thing in baseball, and we see it. Like, you know, I messed up my shoulder senior year, and it's still messed up at times when I go and play tennis. Like, I still can't like stretch and serve, you know, without it hurting. So shoulder mobility is a big thing in baseball, and especially when you're swinging, pulling your hands in and getting to the baseball. And trying to make solid contact, you know, it's hard. Like, you know, I think the shoulder is such a big deal in baseball. And I'd be curious to talk to, you know, some of these, you know, sports, not a mental health person, but sports psychologists, and see what their opinions are when it comes to baseball and using the shoulder and kind of the mental side as well of the game. I think, you know, those are all really interesting things. So maybe some things to keep an eye on later this season.
Yeah, you make really good points. Well, hey, all of the midweek non-con regular season stuff is over, so let's kind of dissect that a little bit. Arkansas lost 2 games in those non-conference midweek stretches. That includes that third game to JMU, and then Oklahoma State. So you love what Arkansas has been able to do to take care of business, and some people might be like, oh, well, who did they play? But on the flip side of that coin, you still got to take care of business. You still got to win baseball games, and other schools around the country are not winning those midweek games in our league. So if you're Arkansas, you got to be happy with the way that they finished.
Oh, 100%. Case in point, Tennessee the other night losing their midweek game. We've seen Florida be super inconsistent in the midweek game. You know, all these teams, besides really Texas A&M, have dropped the midweek games, and, you know, you're happy. Look, let's talk about those 2 losses really quickly. James Madison, that was a crappy weekend in general. You had that Hagen Smith blow up disaster of a first inning for, you know, Arkansas in general, but what has he done? He's just been a monster since, and we'll talk to him in a few. And that Oregon State game, that loss is aging really, really well, like fine wine well. And Oklahoma State right now, they're going to host a regional. I think they're like 14-15 right now. And if Arkansas keeps sliding, there's a potential chance you can see a super regional matchup between Arkansas and Oklahoma State again. That's something that D1 Baseball actually projected the other week, that the Fayetteville Regional was the 2 seed and the Stillwater Regional the 15 seed. So there's absolutely a possibility that you're going to see Oklahoma State again. And, you know, with the history of Oklahoma State and Arkansas, it wouldn't surprise me. But like I said, those 2 losses really have aged well, especially that Oklahoma State loss. Again, James Madison, whatever, bad weather, February, you forget about it. But again, this team is very business-esque, and that's kind of the message throughout the season from all of them, is that they take these things like with a business, you know, mentality. And that's where Arkansas succeeds. And that's been a really good thing. And that's why they're able to have such a good non-conference record.
All right. You piqued my interest because Jacob and I were looking at this on Monday, and the new projections hadn't come out. And I'm pretty sure they had Arkansas coming, or Oklahoma State coming to the Fayetteville Regional as a 2 seed.
Maybe they
so
were
now I'm really curious because they came out today. So let's check it out. They came out yesterday. So we're going to check it out now. So they have.
I didn't see yesterday. I think yesterday was like Little Rock, Arizona, and maybe
Little Rock, Kansas State, Oregon, your 2 seed here in Fayetteville, matched up with Santa Barbara's regional, with Santa Barbara, Arizona, Texas, and Fresno State. So that's what they have right now. Let me see if they do have Stillwater. They've got Oklahoma State hosting. So it'll be really interesting, but this is that time of the year where everyone's checking out these projections on like what could happen and who could go where, which is always really fun to see. And Arkansas is the 2 seed. So you got to love that. So that's the latest projection this week from D1 Baseball, since it's really close to that time of the year already, which is exciting. So you got to love that. All right, let's talk about Hagen. We've brought him up. So here we are. This is where we are in our K count right now at 111. And Evan, I want to read you this stat. I've got all my stats popped up here. I've got windows out the, you know what, because I've just got things that I want to read. So I'm going to show it to you. All right. Oh, those are the gold hats. See, this is what happens when I just click around things. All right, here we go.
We'll get to those. We're
gonna get that was foreshadowing. I know. In the month of April,
yeah,
Hagen Smith led all SEC pitchers in ERA with 108, opposing batting average at 122. The next best pitcher was 173, and the strikeouts with 39. That is Hagen Smith in a nutshell, just in the month of April. He's got 111 strikeouts right now. As a season, that is tied with Nick Schmidt and Matt Carnes at 111 for 8th on the all-time list for the season. Okay? Drew Smiley's at 114. I think we passed Drew Smiley. Trevor Stephan at 120. You could pass that. Isaiah Campbell back in 2019 had 125. David Whaling, Jess Todd, Nick Schmidt, and David Walling again at 155. That's the record, 155 in 1999. Does Hagen match or pass that?
And we talked about this right before we started recording, that the postseason does count. So
I believe it does.
If
it does not, we'll come back and correct ourselves, but we're going with it does right now.
Yeah, we're gonna call it that. So if Hagen Smith does, he's got 3 starts in the regular season remaining. Kentucky, who's a team that doesn't strike out that much. Then you have Texas A&M, again, a team that's not going to strike out a ton. They put the ball in play. Same with Kentucky and Mississippi State. Do I think he breaks the record if we're counting those 3 games? No. I think it's going to take those postseason starts. Arkansas, again, you're going to assume they're going to be the 2 or the 3 in the SEC.
Sure.
Oh, excuse me. So I think he has a chance with the postseason. But never say never. He's averaging, 9.8 strikeouts a game, 10 strikeouts a game, and that's my rough mental math.
Isn't that crazy?
Of 110 divided by 111 divided by 11, so 10. I think that's the math. Don't quote me. I failed calculus.
Didn't we all? Who didn't fail calculus? Who didn't? Let me find you.
I had to take applied brief calculus for the life sciences. It was a real class. You can Google it later. But given the law of averages and all of that, I think it'll take those postseason starts for Hagen to get it. Will he do it in the regular season? No. So if we're looking at regular season, he does not break it. If we add in postseason, I absolutely think he does.
Okay, so let's break this down because I love where your head's at. Yeah. So he's got 3 regular starts. I'm gonna go. You're gonna keep track. Okay. So 3 regular starts. Okay. All right. You can do it on your hand. I promise.
We're not gonna
count. We're not gonna count much. All right. So here is the SEC bracket. Let's say Arkansas is the 2 seed. They would play. What is that? Game 6. 1, 2, and this is if they win. 3, at least 4 games in Hoover, and they got to win all of them. But they play at least 4 games in Hoover if they're a 2 seed. Let's say, okay. So that's 6. You probably think Hagen is going to play 2, maybe pitch 2 of those. So that's 5. Okay, and then in the regional
game 1.
Yep, so that's 6. A super regional. I don't know where the thumbs up bubble came from. That was weird.
I think that's just Zoom. And
is that Zoom?
So I've been like FaceTiming friends lately, like they'll do it where like I think it's like Zoom and FaceTime does it now.
Why doesn't mine? Oh, you're on. Are you on your phone? Or you're on your Apple MacBook? Okay,
MacBook,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow, sorry for the detour, guys. Okay, so and then super regionals, and so there's a possibility he's got like 8 starts left in him for the season if they make it all the way to Omaha, and I think in that case he does it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
100%.
Well, there you go.
If you're saying Hagen Smith, you have 8 to 10 starts, 7, let's call it 7 to 9. Let's lowball.
7 to
9 starts. That could be another 65 strikeouts and put him at that 170 mark that, again, we talked about it a couple weeks ago. That's like Paul Skeens numbers. And Hagen right now, and Paul Skeens AAA probably will be in Pittsburgh by the end of June. I mean, the fact that Hagen right now isn't as close to a draft pick and his stock isn't where Paul Skeens is and Hagen's numbers are better blows my mind.
I don't know. That's really interesting. Maybe when we see one of these scouts, we'll ask him.
Oh, we might have to. If there's a Pirate scout.
Just out of curiosity, what's going on? Why is that? Why is that the way that it is? Who knows?
Like, look, Charlie Condon, Travis Bazzana, all these really good contact power hitters are going to go up, but the fact that Hagen's sitting at 7 right now and not closer to 3, 4.
I'm very curious. I'm not going to put too much stock in it because I watched a couple years ago, Heston Kjerstad in 2020 was projected 8 9-10 went second to the Orioles. So
yeah,
who knows? It'll be really interesting to see how that goes.
Quick little plug. The MLB draft this summer is in Dallas. It's the same week as SEC Media Days, and you bet your butts we're going to be there for at least SEC Media Days, so we might have some fun stuff in Dallas in July.
Basically, if I can't find Evan, he's somewhere at the draft.
Jacob and I are either at the draft or at the All-Star game if you can't find
the All-Star game's there too?
Yeah.
What?
It's all like that week span in July.
And I'm not going to, I leave for Paris the week after, so I'm really not trying to travel, but I might be trying to travel. That's pretty sweet. Okay.
Looks like it's a full team going to Dallas now.
Golly. I don't know. I might have to drive my own self there so I don't have to see you guys. I'm kidding. I love you.
That's fair.
All right. So let's continue talking now. That's Hagen, and it's exciting. And it's going to be exciting to see Hagen pitch the rest of the season, but they've got a lot coming up, including a road series at Kentucky. Kentucky is a team right now that's fighting for that East championship with Tennessee, and they're playing really, really well, even though they dropped a couple of games recently. So what is it about Kentucky going on the road right now for Arkansas that you like and you don't like?
What's the things that I don't like specifically for Arkansas in this is the fact that Kentucky is such a contact club. Look, bottom line, Kentucky was really good last year. They made it to the Super Regionals. They got to host a Super Regional because of, I believe, did they host a Super Regional last year? No, I'm bugging. I'm thinking TCU and Indiana State because my Hoosiers played Kentucky, took them to the final game, and Kentucky won. So this is the team, they've been trending in the right direction the last few years. And what I don't like for Arkansas is the fact that this Kentucky team, and we broke it all down yesterday in PTN Extra, so we'll dive a little bit into it today. Number 1 in batting average in the SEC, number 3 in slug, number 1 in on-base percentage, number 1 in hits, 13th when it comes to strikeouts. So they don't strike out a lot. They put the ball in play a lot. That really bodes well for Kentucky in this case because we know Hagen Smith is a very big strikeout guy. Same with Will McIntyre and Mason Molina. But what I do like about that is, they put the ball in play, but Arkansas's got one of the best defenses, if not the best, in the SEC. So I think it's a really even matchup and more than the numbers might say. And Kentucky, they don't hit for a lot of power. This isn't a team. It's kind of like Arkansas offensively, where they're going to put the ball in play more than Arkansas, and we've seen that, and the numbers show that. But Ryan Nicholson, who's leading the best power hitter on this team, hitting .321, 42 hits, 42 RBIs, 14 home runs. That's the big number that's interesting. 14 home runs. Fahiva Aloy, I think, is at 11. So again, this is a Kentucky team. They're not going to hit for power that much. They're going to hit for contact. The two Ryans, Nicholson and Waldschmidt, lead this order. Nick Lopez, excuse me. There was a guy that I used to play in high school. His name was Nicky Lopez.
Hey, he might go by Nicky. Maybe.
Who knows?
Maybe we just started something new there.
Exactly. He's hitting .371. And again, this is a team. They're hitting .295, batting average in SEC, .475 team ERA. So there could be a lot of runs scored this weekend. Typically there are in these Kentucky games. So it's a good matchup for Arkansas, but it's also bad for Hagen, in my opinion.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Again, we've talked about it a lot. We talked about it yesterday on PTN Extra, so if you want more baseball, go watch that after this. But the offense for Arkansas, I'm not a, Nate Thompson basher whatsoever. I think that there are a lot of people who don't understand the game of baseball who like to criticize the offense because you still win games. However, I think you've got to look at the runners left on base, and that's what you're trying to correct. And getting guys in and scoring runs when you have those opportunities. And so I think working on that, focusing on that is going to be a big emphasis these next couple of weeks. But they got to be able to have that happen on the road at Kentucky and then in a few weeks at Texas A&M. I'm pretty comfortable with them at home, so I don't really worry about them. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And that Mississippi State series next week will be a lot of fun. We'll break all of that down next week. I'm really excited for that one. But again, 3 left on base yesterday for Kendall Digs, 2 for Jared Sprague-Lott. Those numbers, you'd like to see them getting the guys home. But again, people online want to bash the whole, launch angle thing with Nate Thompson. But kind of in today's Major League Baseball, that's a big statistic. Personally, I'm not a launch angle guy. I'm more of a contact, hit the ball where it's pitched. If the ball's outside, you drive it the other way. Don't try to swing up at it. That's where you generate all these pop flies and stuff. So I think, there's a lot of people online that want to criticize Nate Thompson for launch angle. Mike Irwin might be one of them. Will not confirm that. But I think, again, this team, if they go a little more towards that, let's play contact ball, kind of like Kentucky style play, I think that'll bode really well when it comes to scoring runs and getting these guys in. But again, when your pitching staff, this is the pitching staff for Kentucky. Both their Friday, Saturday starters, both have ERAs in the 5. The whip is 1.35 for Mason Moore and Dominic Neiman, 1.3. So Arkansas is going to have the ability to get a lot of guys on base this weekend because of those whip numbers, and they just have to execute with those guys on base. And we've seen it in the crucial moments, so hopefully we see it again this weekend.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. First game tomorrow, 6:30 on the SEC Network Plus. All right, we've got some things to talk about as our Zoom tells us that we got 10 minutes left. But this is where we're going to have a little bit of fun with Evan, and we know that he loves hats. And we know that he loves the yellow hats.
I do.
The yellow
Those are
hats.
awesome.
And he finally figured out that they were for childhood cancer awareness. This is the third time Arkansas has worn these hats. They're 3-0 in the hats. I mean, I'm showing this picture right now of Deviation, this yellow hat. Man, them things look sharp.
Slick. Originally, because of the old kind of Arkansas logos that we've had throughout the office, I thought the yellow was kind of a nod back to that 90s when we did the interview with Scotty Thurman and Courtney's baseball special, the
basketball stuff.
The basketball.
Yeah, the 1994 championship stuff.
The what's it called? The hog, the I don't know, the slobber hog.
Oh, the slobber hog stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like he had a yellow background, so that's what I initially thought it was a nod to, and it still might be. Don't get me wrong, but the fact that again, it's raising money and awareness for such a great cause and childhood cancer. It's just awesome and puts the icing on the cake to the cause and the hat and really hopefully, and I don't know if a percentage if you buy that hat of the proceeds do end up going towards childhood cancer.
I think so.
Foundation and
I
research.
think so.
I think that would be really cool. I'd have to go double check. If please drop it in the comments for us. But those hats are just awesome. They're really sweet. And I thought they looked really well and they're really sharp. And again, anytime you can get out there and support a good cause, I love that college baseball allows teams to do this, and unlike the MLB, who finally are going to do it when they bring back the Players Weekend later in August. If you didn't know, that's coming back this year. So just a great cause and something that when I found out about it, I was like, I want to go buy a hat now.
Yeah,
so
well,
I gotta wait because I need some money. So
you don't. We don't get paid tomorrow. We get paid in a week from tomorrow. But
I know, so I
gotta
wait
a little bit longer.
Exactly.
But definitely add that one to the collection. I've got another hat that I want to ask you about, but we'll save that one for last. This is the next thing I want to talk about is these really cool jerseys that just kind of tip your cap to the Hawaiian culture for Vahiva Aloy and Nolan Souza. The Hawaiian shirts were there, and now we've got jerseys. These are pretty sharp too.
Oh, they're sweet. They're really cool. And I was talking with our weekend anchor Casey Smith yesterday about them, and he was like, they're awesome. And I was like, yeah, I know. Courtney's boyfriend Jeff. Hi Jeff, you got a shout out on Bad and Cleanup. He bought one already for Vahiva. They're just sweet. Like, they're awesome. I love that proceeds go towards the NIL. Again, giving these guys a platform that they have and using that Hawaiian culture and where they're from. And we've talked a little bit with them about, all of the, being from Hawaii and coming to Arkansas and all of that. So anything to bring these guys and transport them to have a feeling of being back home is awesome. Yeah. And I hope fans, and, I've seen throughout the stadium, and I'm sure you have too at Baum Walker, all the fans wearing the leis when these guys come up to bat. And it's just really cool and a really nice, tip of the cap nod to, their culture and where they're from, because it's important where you're from and your origin and your story is important. And all these guys have different stories, and it's I think it's important to honor that. And again, you don't see a lot of personality through, and this isn't a knock on DVH, but through this team that often, Gorilla Ball is one way that we start to see the personality of these guys. And I think this is another way as well that we start to understand who they are, not as baseball players, but as people too.
Yeah, I think so. And I know that NIL is a lot for people right now. I feel like this is what NIL is for. To make these jerseys, to honor your players, and those players are going to get some money from those sales. Like, this is what NIL was created for. Not where we're all right now with the buying of players. That's not, it was never intended to get to where it is. It is where it is, and so we're, everyone's adapting. But this is what NIL was about. It was, Brandon Allen should be able to get money for the selling of his jersey, or, Ryan Mallett back in the day, or whatever. Like, this is what it was for. So it's really, really cool to see. By the way, I know that you can't see this, which is kind of makes it more entertaining, but they have a cap now with the Naturals. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's a chicken. Oh, have you seen the red one with the chicken?
I have. It's weird.
In the blue?
I don't
No,
get
but
the
the chick.
rooster
No,
one.
but now, when you first saw it, you might have thought it was weird. Talking a little basketball. Would you buy the Chicken Man hat now?
No.
Oh.
Well, so you're saying
'Cause
like
it's
with
the Chicken
everything that's
Man.
gone on with basketball, what
With basketball, with Tyson and John
but you're
Calipari, and now you
saying-
got a Chicken Man hat.
Maybe I
No?
can see fans
Maybe?
buying it. Like,
Okay.
would I buy the chicken hat? Probably not.
Oh,
Again,
come on. You buy every other hat.
that's fair. I do.
All right, I was just
But I do
asking.
like the yellow naturals hat that
They are
Jake
nice.
has. Our
Our
assistant
executive
news director.
Yeah, our
Or is he executive producer?
assistant news
Yeah.
director's got one. They're pretty sharp. I saw this and I was like, I wonder if Evan would buy the Chicken Man hat.
Some things work out, and I think that has a very scary way of they introduced the chicken hat, and now the Chicken Man, John Tyson, was able to get John Calipari to come
Help
back. I
get
don't know.
John Calipari
Weird
for sure.
things.
Yeah, I know. You never know. I don't know. Maybe one day you'll change your mind about
Crazier things.
chicken hats. Who knows?
Potentially. We'll see.
We'll see. Well, hey, thanks so much for joining us on this week's batting cleanup. It's been a lot of fun. It always is. Arkansas headed to Kentucky for a 3-game series. Again, the first game tomorrow at 6:30 on the SEC Network. Plus, we'll be back next Thursday talking about Mississippi State and anything wild and crazy that happens in the baseball world. We'll probably talk about it. Cubs losing.
Walker Buehler back
stuff
to
like that. Walker Buehler is back,
last night,
y'all.
Real quick tangent. Last night, Pete Alonso was out. Actually, no, he was safe. Crazy ending to the Cubs game. This is my Wrigleyville jersey. I didn't do hat of the day. It's my nice.
I'm sorry.
My Nico Horner jersey.
There you go.
Hat of the day, really quickly. I'm wearing my Huga House Cherish the Little Things hat. It's very comfortable.
Okay.
Sorry, quick plug. Pete Alonso was out, but he was safe in my opinion. So Cubs got away with it. They're going to get crushed today. And Walker Buehler's back for the Dodgers, so we didn't even cover that.
I love it. No one really likes Pete Alonso. You don't have to say that. Courtney's not here.
Exactly.
It's fine. It's fine. Thanks so much, guys, for watching. We'll see you next week.